It's October the 14th, 2024. I am at Joel Pearl, and it's time to get in the weeds. Jeremy Lambert is here as always. He's here to give you a 20-minute stand-up routine and also tell you about his wrestle dreams turning into wrestle nightmares. Spooky season is upon us. How you doing, Jeremy?
I'm into the void like my hero, Bryan Danielson. That's why this appearance is appearing as such. I'm from beyond the grave, a quarter mile into the grave.
Not to be confused with Beyond the Bell that airs every Tuesday morning over on our main YouTube channel featuring Timecock Max Cocker. Oh, I mean Andrew Zarian. I'm sorry, I forgot. Sometimes they get confused. They look alike.
Hey, brother.
I know it's not. I know they just look alike. They could be brothers. I don't know what the deal is. It's very strange. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving to our friends in the chat and abroad. Yes, we celebrate our Thanksgiving a quarter mile before American Thanksgiving. It's just the way it is.
You guys are like a month and a half early.
Some of our stores have Black Friday today. So there you go.
It's Monday.
Yeah, it's Black Monday.
What? Why?
I don't know. Some people were putting deals. We had a Prime sale. We had an Amazon Prime sale in Canada last week. There was another Prime
Day.
That's
fine. That's Prime Day's Prime Day. You can't call it Black Monday or can't call it Black Friday on a Monday. What?
I mean, I can call it whatever I want. It's not my marketing.
All right. I'm going to take away this brick background here. It's honestly tripping me out.
What,
a little bit too much.
I love how your face is coming through more and more, but the bricks, it's like getting to know your face.
Yeah. We're back. We're living our life a quarter mile at a time like everybody should. Hello, everybody.
Hope you're doing well. We got plenty to talk about today. We had WrestleDream on Saturday. The New Japan show just wrapped up. King of Pro Wrestling, a new King of Pro Wrestling has been crowned in that a new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion has been crowned as well. And some big news coming out of that show. Talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit about SmackDown because there was a couple notes worth mentioning. And we'll be out of here in a tight 2 hours or so.
Let the cat out.
Oh, the cat started hearing about wrestling and said, forget this. I get it. I get a cat. Go live your life.
Yeah, cat wanted nothing to do with wrestling.
Can you blame the cat?
No, not at all.
I want a cat and I'm going to name it Ernest Miller.
No, okay.
That seems like a good idea. Make it a 3-time world karate champion.
Okay. Good luck with that.
Every time it enters the room, James Brown plays. And then when I get acquired from WWE, really, really awful James Brown played by a chimpanzee music plays. It's not good. It's not good. I swear to God, I miss the old network for this. If you could go back and watch old WCW pay-per-views, but with WWE network access, you know how they had to redub a bunch of stuff? For example, Chris Jericho's old theme, the Even Flow ripoff, they just made it the old... yeah, they got rid of that. They just replaced it with his WWE theme, with Break the Walls Down, and it was just not great. And then the Cats was egregious. It was awful. It's just, I wish I had the video. I've mentioned it before. I'm going to find it, but it sounds so rinky-dink. It's awful. They did it with a lot of those themes because they had to. Jimmy Hart commissioned rip-offs of mainstream themes, mainstream music, recreated them. They were not close enough, I guess, or he didn't have access to the library, and that was that. That was that. I miss those days. I miss WCW pay-per-views, but if you were in Tacoma, you got to watch one.
Wow, that's not nice. That's not true at all.
They ran the Tacoma Dome. That's where very episodes of Nitro have aired.
That's where WCW died, was the Tacoma Dome.
Was it actually?
Yeah, that's where they ran Bagwell and Booker.
Oh, you're right. That was Washington. I thought. Yeah, that's right. Oh man. Well, Bagwell and Booker weren't there. Booker was in Chesterfield, Missouri last Tuesday instead. And who knows where Bagwell is. Whatever. AEW WrestleDream was this past Saturday night. As expected, I mean, you and I talked about this ad nauseum. Bryan Danielson did drop the AEW World Championship to Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley literally secured the bag. and then proceeded to have him and his cronies murk Bryan Danielson, which honestly, I think Danielson had a lot more extreme ideas of how he wanted to go out. I think this was the best way they could have done it.
Do you think like he actually wanted to? Oh, go ahead.
Well, first of all, I told you for weeks that they were going to do a stretcher job, so I got to get that over. With Danielson, it's like you have to take the most extreme ideas you can and then like bring it back to some sort of wrestling level. And this was extreme even for professional wrestling, which they did the plastic bag spot again, but this time they used some storytelling devices to get there, which I did appreciate. Plastic bag is what it is. The camera kind of screwed up and told you how it works, but that's on the cameraman getting too tight of a shot on Danielson. But otherwise, this was a very dramatic finish. We can talk about the match, of course, but yeah, you listen, he's your favorite guy. He's your favorite wrestler. He's not done, but he's certainly done for the time being.
He's dead, Joel.
He didn't move after that chair. That's true. He definitely got, yeah. I felt my clavicle kind of tinge up after that whole exchange with Cesaro, with Claudio. Sorry, I keep calling him Cesaro for some reason.
I feel like if they could have done, I say this in the nicest, most lovingly way possible for Bryan Danielson. I feel like if they could have done a safe decapitation, they would have. I don't know how you do that safely. I don't know how you fake that, but okay. I think if they could have, Bryan Danielson would have done that.
Okay, so what you do is you get the guillotine. That's fine. You get a guillotine, an old 1800 style guillotine. You put Danielson in, and you know how he's already had the plastic bag put around his head? Well, instead of the plastic bag, you get a green, like a light green bag, and you put it over his head. And then live audience probably has to be in on it too and be okay with it. Guillotine comes down, slice, it's fake. And but because he got the green bag tumbles into the thing as if it's a decapitation, and it's his head on a green bag because it's chroma, right? You just pitch it in. That's how you do it.
Yeah, can they make a fake Danielson head?
Yes, you know they can. They don't have to go through WBD for that. I'm sure somebody in the back knows a guy. Brody King's probably like just putting the finishing touches on this one. Nice.
Do you think he pitched this like doing it in front of a live audience might be tough, but like is like he's like, how about they carry me backstage and we do like a pre-tape of this, and that's how we do it, because you can do it in a pre-tape. Obviously, like they blew up Vince McMahon in a limo. You can do this stuff with a pre-tape. You
know who would have a lot of really accurate ideas as to how to get this to work?
Jimmy Jacobs,
Katsuyori Shibata.
Oh,
brains out on the table. He would absolutely know it. Hey, speaking of brains on the table, go ahead, leave us a thumbs up on the video if you haven't already, because this is what you get from a morning show all about professional wrestling. Also, the fireworks are going off, letting you know to subscribe to us here at Fightful Overbooked. Go to FightfulOverbooked.com, or our YouTube channel is youtube.com/FightfulOverbooked. Spoiler alert, you go to FightfulOverbooked.com, it brings you to the YouTube channel. Just press subscribe. It's good. And also you can donate a super chat, any amount, get your question or statement read on the air. Are you surprised about the URL statement? Because I think you knew this.
What, that FightfulOverbooked.com goes right to the YouTube website?
Yeah, you looked like you were surprised by that, but I'm pretty sure you were the one who set that up.
I told Joel, what?
Director of content. What's wrong?
I don't know if you're trolling me.
You spend so much time doing it to Jensen that once in a while I have to get some on you.
I don't know if you're trolling me. I was upset. Not upset, but you said spoiler. It takes you to. I don't think that's like a spoiler. It's just a fact. It's not. I literally said this weeks ago, months ago. This has been a thing for years, that FightfulOverbooked.com takes you to the YouTube site. It's not a spoiler.
Ryan in the chat saying Jensen deserves it, though.
Jensen does deserve it.
He frequently does.
I don't deserve it. I'm tired. I've worked so hard these past few days.
Yeah. So instead, AEW rewarded you with a 20-minute press.
We'll get to that.
We will. Let's talk about the match. Let's talk about the non-decapitation of Bryan Danielson.
Okay. First off, the match was great. Bryan Danielson absolutely rules. Shout out to the Tacoma crowd who actually got the "You're gonna get your effing head kicked in" chant like together. I don't think anybody's ever gotten that chant together, especially mid-match like that. It was when Danielson first did it, was when in ROH years ago, and he like tried to lead the chant. And they like kind of got into it and it worked, but like during a match, it's very rare that they've gotten it together the way that crowd got it together. So that he should have called an audible right then. He's like, they finally got the chant. No, I can't retire now. They finally figured it out. Match was great. I do have an issue. How does Jack Perry know? Hey, you're in a rear naked choke. Cross the legs, pin the guy. And Bryan Danielson, the greatest professional wrestler, the greatest technical wrestler of all time, just goes out like a little bitch and just is done. Jack Perry knew. Did he not watch Jack Perry earlier in the night? This was really an agency thing. I would not have done that Jack Perry finish earlier in the night if Danielson was going to lose in this fashion. I think that looked kind of stupid. But that's a nitpick and something that maybe a lot of people didn't notice, but I certainly did. Of like, why are you doing a rear naked choke earlier in the night where the guy pins him out of it? And Jack Perry, who, let's be honest, is not the accomplished wrestler that Bryan Danielson is. Meanwhile, Bryan Danielson doesn't figure out how to friggin' escape this hold when you just did this earlier in the night to show that, like, hey, here's how you get out of it. It was dumb. They should have done something else with Perry and Shibata.
I mostly agree with you. I think the only reason that I'm okay with letting it go, and I'm usually a nitpicky guy like you can be, I'm more like, it happened so much earlier in the night and other things had kind of gotten in the way that benefit of hindsight. Yeah, you don't necessarily remember it, but it wasn't so egregious that you have to go back and be like, wait a minute, like this happened. There was no multiple times when it happened to make it so bad. This was something we talked about on Friday where there were so many opportunities for people to get involved in matches, things to happen that progress stories. And I said on the show, I said, I really hope that they show restraint and they don't do a lot of those. And I give AEW full marks. They didn't go overboard with moving story based on the match ending. They tried to make those spots more important. And I think they accomplished it for the most part. So yeah, going back to what you were saying, I didn't think it was too egregious, but I understand where you're coming from.
Ali Khan says Bryan Danielson couldn't feel his legs. Like, fair.
That's it.
Again, it's not the most egregious thing in the world. If Joel is like okay with it, then there you go. No offense, Joel. But if Joel isn't nitpicking it, then there you go.
I also have the benefit of having watched the show in over 2 days. I watched some of it on Saturday and then I watched the rest of it last night. Honestly, it's the best way to watch wrestling. The second you think you're done, take a break, come back to it. You'll be okay. This is the only nitpicky thing because I guess we're talking about the main event. It's actually more about Danielson and media. This, and I don't want people to mistake what I'm trying to say here. And I think actually you're gonna, yeah.
I'm gonna mistake what you're trying to say.
Well, no, I think you're gonna get it when I say this because you cover this stuff, you watch and you listen to all of these interviews. Danielson did a bunch of media, and AEW PR on Twitter had posted a bunch of photos. One of the photos that they posted, and I don't have it here, but I probably should get it, was Danielson sitting in a news interview setting in a space, and behind him was the AEW logo. Do you remember seeing this photo, Jeremy?
No, but go ahead.
So anyway, it's out there. The photo, the AEW logo that they were using was the old logo, the concrete one, the broken concrete one. And that's on AEW PR to make sure that if that's what you see behind you, that's a branding thing. I really need whoever's in PR, whoever's there that day, to make sure that these news outlets, whoever's putting on these interviews, they have the updated logos. They have the updated everything, the EPK, all the press stuff needed to make sure that they have the current up-to-date logos and branding for the company. Because otherwise, I think that we talk about what makes something look second tier. To me, that is something that makes anything look second tier, is if you're using an old version of a logo and it's very clear that it's an old version of the logo because the new one is very clean, it's very sleek, nothing's broken up. That's my only nitpick that I go to bat for because of my background working with media and working with branding and all that stuff. I just saw that and I was like, you should have fixed that. I know that's nitpicky, but I hope more people see stuff like that and call it out, not in a shitty, like, oh, this is a stupid company way, but more in like you might want to fix these little things because they make you look more professional on these interview national stages or local marketing, whatever it is, it needs to be there.
Okay.
That's all.
All right.
Yeah. It just has to do with Danielson. So I bring it up now.
What do you think of this finish? Because I saw somebody in the chat say he should have just tapped out. I didn't mind that the way they did it because I think they were going for anticlimactic. I know that sounds weird, but like they were not going for this big grandiose, oh my gosh, like they didn't want to cheer. You know, they didn't want Jon Moxley cheered that he won this match. They wanted it to be like, oh shit, it's over. That's it. I think a tap out almost gives too much of the drama. This didn't have drama, which is good.
This had a lot of good things going for it. I can see in the moment why people would have wanted a pinfall or a definitive end with a reaction, but I think the no reaction was the right reaction. There are a couple things that really prove this. One of them is Bryce Remsburg. I know people get on the referees for, quote, getting themselves over and having personality in AEW. This is one time where you cannot say anything like that because Remsburg, you see the look on his face after he calls for the bell. I don't know if you saw his, but he head in his hands, couldn't believe it. Oh my God, it's over. He was so overcome with emotion that it kind of kickstarts this, like, again, the wrestle nightmare that we make fun of as a name, but that's when the nightmare begins, is the non-tap out, the pass outs. The non-reaction gets even more scary when everything else starts to pile on top of it as we start to say goodbye to Danielson. Nigel was another good sell. Kate's in the chat saying that. Nigel McGuinness was even like, shit, this might be too much for me. And this is a guy who's gone after Danielson for years and years, and they just had their match. And, you know, at the end of the match, I think Nigel gained a little bit more respect while still being able to talk shit about Danielson. I liked where it was. I also think this still opens the door because Danielson hopefully will come back at one point and want to get revenge. That's going to play in later. So I'm okay with the way this ended. You're not supposed to celebrate Moxley winning the title. Moxley doesn't even want you celebrating him having the title because what did he do? He literally took the title, didn't acknowledge it, gave it to Claudio. Claudio puts it in a bag. The title doesn't exist to these people anymore. They don't care about this company.
They had a murder to perform.
Pretty much. They had a guillotine to bring out, and they had a green plastic bag to put over Danielson's head to get it done. I thought that there was a lot of really good acting surrounding this whole thing that made the finish work better than anything else I could have thought of. It was good.
Yeah.
How did JR? Someone asking how did JR react? My favorite part is when Jeff Jarrett comes out and he's like, "Oh no, not Jeff Jarrett!" I just lost it.
I was wondering, like, why aren't people to save this man? And then finally, here comes Darby Allin and Wheeler Yuta. Like the Yuta turn was largely predictable. We sat here and said it was probably going to happen, but that Yuta is not the higher power. And I still feel that is the truth to things. I don't think Yuta was behind this. Yuta still showed like remorse of what he had to do and everything. It is the idea of what Jon Moxley thinks pro wrestling should be and his way of pro wrestling. And now we'll see kind of how that plays out in the weeks and months to come. Darby being the one that was like forced to watch, that was good. I love, again, the shock and horror of it all, the way it ended. Orange Cassidy, Daniel Garcia, all these guys coming out. Like I've said for a very long time, AEW's had a heel babyface problem. And I think it's hurt the company over the past few years. I thought coming out of WrestleDream, they did a great job really establishing who is on which side. And I'll say it, what I said after the Young Bucks thing that they completely dropped the ball on. This should be an overarching story for the company. And it looks like it's going to be. So don't screw this up, please, because they screwed up the Young Bucks takeover, if you want to call it that. This should be an overarching thing. I don't want Dynamite starting any other way unless it's Jon Moxley coming out and giving his new mission statement, or it's Darby Allin coming out and be like, where the fuck is this dude? I'm ready to fight. That's the only two ways I'm starting Dynamite. Get in there and immediately hammer home. Jon Moxley is the guy. He runs the company now. He has the title. You're either doing things his way or he's going to kill you. Or get Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, whoever it might be out there and be like, Jon Moxley, Claudio, Pac, Yuta, whoever, come out here, fight me. That's how you start. But I thought it was great.
Enjoy your Orange Cassidy tag team match at the beginning of the show.
Nah, I'll tell you a funny story about Orange Cassidy here when we talk about him. But I thought the ending was great. And I know like there was a lot of whatever online of like, oh, it was awful and everything. I think it was Trevor Dame. And I thought the same thing. Who wondered like, can you do this as well in 2024? Because people want to blame the booker and not like the performers. The heated, like if something is bad, people are like, oh, the booker is the reason why this is bad, instead of like the heat being on Jon Moxley. Like, oh, I'm not upset at Jon Moxley. I'm upset at Tony Khan because he booked this. And so that's why it can be, to me, tough to do basically a sad ending in 2024. Everybody just wants the happy of shock or whatever it might be, the niceties in wrestling, where it's, well, I'll use a WWE example because WWE's actually, they've babyfaced themselves over the past few months and years with the return. But the downer obviously was WrestleMania 39, right? Roman winning. Everyone thought Cody was going to win. Roman won. And people wanted to, it wasn't so much of like, oh, let's get mad at Roman Reigns. It was, oh, let's get mad at Vince or Triple H, whoever does it. But I also think WrestleMania 31 or 39 proves the point that, yeah, you can do an ending that upsets the fans. And if the follow-up is good, they'll be there with you and they'll ride out the story until you get to the high of the conquering babyface. Because the fans didn't lose faith in Cody. Look at Steven Jensen. The fans never lost faith in Cody. They were with him until the very end. They were with him so much they overthrew The Rock being in the main event of WrestleMania.
Hold on. No, it was The Rock's idea to do this.
Yeah, it was The Rock's idea. Sure. He was in Hawaii. He couldn't sleep. He's like, oh, the final boss, Mana.
He needed that bottle of Mana to get it working.
So it's proving that, yeah, you can do a down ending as long as you got a good enough follow-up. And I see Kate saying like the follow-up to Cody's side. It did, but they did enough to where they kept you with Cody. And certainly by the Rumble, they lifted you way back up with Cody. And everyone was there for WrestleMania 40, from the Rumble to WrestleMania 40. Everybody was with Cody for that. So it does show that you can do a downer ending like this. And this was about as downing as you can get here. They're 6 feet in the ground with this ending. But it won't matter if you can follow up strong and your baby faces can overcome and your baby faces get the moment. And that's the big thing as well. Your baby faces got to actually get the moment and it's got to come off well. Because I'll use a way further example. The NWO destroyed everybody for years. From Bash at the Beach 96 all the way to Starrcade. A year and a half, essentially. And the conquering babyface was supposed to be Sting. And they screwed up that ending, and then they lost the fans off of that. So you can do this, but you gotta give the fans enough belief that someone's gonna overthrow and someone's gonna conquer this, and then you gotta stick the landing when the conquering happens. I jokingly put out there of Darby Allin is gonna end up dethroning Moxley, and then Christian's immediately gonna cash in on Darby Allin. As much as this chaos scenario pops me, I don't think that's what they should do. But if they do it, I'll think it's hilarious.
Shane O'Mac, let's go.
I mean, again, that would pop me. I don't think that's gonna work.
The thing is, we did a New Hope at All In. We did Empire Strikes Back at All Outs. This was
not Return of the Jedi. This is Empire Strikes Back Part 2.
I didn't realize that they did.
The Empire kept striking.
Yeah. This is Empire 2 Electric Boogaloo. And now we've got to do Return of the Jedi. Is Shane the Jedi that returns and takes down the entire...
They're not doing Shane. They're not doing that.
Oh, God. But no, now I do wonder if they're actually... You can't invoke the Star Wars stuff and only do 2 of the 3 of the original. Now it feels like, yeah, we're almost going back and doing Phantom Menace next, where Darby Allin basically ascends as the next guy, or Daniel Garcia. Like it's those newer, younger talent are the ones building up. So now we got to do the prequels, which I'm sorry, you'll have to deal with this prequel. We're in the third inning, says Cam Bruno. Exactly. We're in the bottom of the third. So I'm wondering, like, how far can you get this story to where you get to not Empire, but to Jedi? If this really is mirroring Star Wars-esque storytelling, I'm not saying bar for bar or anything like that, but I'm saying in terms of eventually the good guys will win and they will conquer this whole thing. Danielson should be that last Jedi, but it's not going to be for a while.
He's dead. He's Obi-Wan. Darth Vader killed Obi-Wan.
That was in the first one, though.
Yeah.
But then we already did the first one. That was when he won.
No. Well, this is the start of something different. I'm not using Star Wars analogies on this.
Why?
I think you can go.
Maybe can look at it.
I think you can go at least at the very earliest World's End. I'd probably go beyond that, but at the very earliest, I'd have Moxley. I don't know who he beats at Full Gear. Maybe he beats Orange Cassidy at Full Gear, because it does feel like Darby is the guy to eventually win this title. So I'd have Orange Cassidy against Jon Moxley at Full Gear, and I'd have Jon Moxley win that. And now remember, Moxley and Orange Cassidy had some really great matches a year ago, and Orange Cassidy was the guy who defeated Jon Moxley because they traded the international title and everything. So there's a story there between those two. Let me tell you my Orange Cassidy story now. Orange Cassidy's on the pre-show, right? It was this Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly and Outrunners, and the conglomeration premier athletes variation that had to run because it's Saturday.
It's right? Saturday night, baby. You know what that means.
So I tweet, because I was like, man, I've always been an Orange Cassidy fan. I think everybody knows that. I've always said Orange Cassidy should be the guy, or at least one of your guys. So seeing him in the pre-show is just like, man, they should be doing so much more with Orange Cassidy, right? So I just tweeted, like, it's kind of crazy that Orange Cassidy's never had a single shot at the title. I know he had the triple threat match, and that was during the pandemic time. So, like, you know, there wasn't even people in the building for that. That was a great match, by the way, with Pac and Kenny Omega. But I was like, man, it's crazy that Orange Cassidy's never had a singles match for the AEW World Title. Joel, that tweet. Let me give you the numbers on this tweet, Joel.
Oh, okay? I am a very numbers-driven individual, Jeremy.
Yeah, yes. Let me get some stats for this tweet.
Yeah,
I gotta friggin' hold on. Why is Twitter so difficult to use? I'm honestly sick of it.
Oh, I've thought about it.
Yeah. All right. I've actually tweeted more than I should, because it was a wrestling pay-per-view. So, okay, the numbers here on this.
Wow, we really got to go far for this, huh?
No, I got it. 3 retweets, 46 likes. Not great or anything, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's whatever.
Pretty standard fare for someone with 8,000, followers.
Sure. 46 likes. Again, this was tweeted at 7:48. The pay-per-view has not started yet. It was in the middle of the pre-show, right? You know who the first like on this tweet was, Joel? The very first person who liked this tweet.
Oh. Hold on. Hold on. Let me see the post engagement. I can't see it.
Yeah, I don't think you can look at it.
No, I can't see it. Was it Orange Cassidy?
Let me just say it's somebody who can control things.
Oh, somebody who was in the namesake of the state where things were running that night. I get it.
I immediately tell the wife, I'm like, look who liked this tweet. Guess who's about to get a singles match for the AEW World Title? And sure enough, later that night, Jerry Lynn is telling Orange Cassidy he can be the guy. So the moment I saw this person like this tweet, I was like, oh, Orange Cassidy's getting this push here. He's getting this push. You think, pay-per-view's about to start, other things would be going on, but sometimes my timeline's very important, and keep following me for accurate scoops.
I never, ever, ever want to see that segment again. It was so bad. The Jerry Lynn segment. And then, so I tweeted out, during the show. I was like, that feels like that segment could have been on Dynamite. And a bunch of dorks were just like, no, Swerve's important. I'm like, I'm not talking about Swerve, pal. Well, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, I'm not talking about Swerve. I'm talking about the thing that happened before it. What do you think I'm talking about? It's like, look at the timestamp. It's just people being like willingly obtuse to the obvious. It was like, oh, Swerve. I'm like, yeah, the Swerve thing is important. It was also part of the show. It was promoted. This was just like, we didn't need that segment. It could have been a Dynamite segment. Also, the sound quality sucked on it, which also added to my frustration. I praised them 1 week for having boom mics, and the next week the boom mics would go away. What are we doing here, Jeremy? Ruined me. Ruined everything. It's over. AEW's dead. Stop replying to Orange Cassidy.
It's I just told about Kate who it actually was, because y'all in the chat are wrong. Y'all are wrong. All right.
Just let him get on his plane and go home. Believe me, it's not just AEW has audio problems. I watch TNA. That's a whole other can of audio issues. It literally sounds like a tin can of audio issues.
What we're talking about with this show?
How much that Orange Cassidy segment should have been on Dynamite.
I was fine. Like, I didn't have an issue with it.
Anyway, where do we go? The Danielson stuff is what it is. We talked about it. I do agree with you that this should be an overarching story. They seem to have given you reason to believe it would be, considering who was in the ring, surrounding the ring, and part of the segment. Not Jeff Jarrett. No, Jeff Jarrett. Instead, you had Daniel Garcia, you had Hook, you had Darby Allin, and who was the fourth that I'm thinking about? Who was there at the moment?
Hook.
I said Hook. Hook, Daniel Garcia, Darby Allin, and
Orange Cassidy.
Orange Cassidy. Thank you. Yeah, the one that we were just talking about. And then, of course, you had other people show up afterwards. Like I think Adam Cole even showed up. Like the baby faces started coming out and entered the ring. You're making it known that there is a dividing line, and now that story should absolutely play out. It's not July, so it's not blood and guts, but it feels like you could do something, a big multi-person match of some sorts. What is it? When could it be? Could you stretch it out that long? It's the beginning.
I think you can.
Yeah? You think you can stretch it out, or that you could do a new specialty match?
I think you can stretch it out. Like you've got to. The issue with that is it can't be too much. And that's where AEW sometimes has an issue, is they want to do too much too soon, too quickly, and pack in what should be weeks of potential stories into one segment. And that's what you don't need to do. You can slow burn stuff. Like, we're on year 4 of this bloodline stuff. All right. Like, you can slow burn stuff. You just got to be very patient, and you got to trust that the audience is going to stay with you. And I don't know if they fully have that trust right now. And that's a different conversation that they need to be having behind the scenes of, hey, do you think we can do this without the audience basically just being like, yeah, we're done with this. Give this now. Because it's very possible that they are thinking like that. And truthfully, I would understand if they were thinking like that based on how things have gone over the past year. But if they think they can keep the audience, and just there might be some weeks where, I don't want to say nothing happens, but there's just some weeks where they don't take big steps forward. They just take a little baby step forward. I mean, that's what we saw plenty of times in the Bloodline storyline. It was like, oh, nothing really happened this week. And then for every little baby step, then you get the Sammy Uso segment and the Usi segment, or the trial of Sammy, whatever it might be. Like, so you can do the baby steps to lead up to the bigger plot points. I just don't know if they are going to do that. Could they? Yes, but you've got to be very patient, and you got to actually stick with it, and you got to have an end point as well. Because if you don't have an end point and you're just trying to book it week to week, you're already screwing it up.
Yeah, having an endpoint is one thing. You also need to find the beats. And is that related to where you are on a given week, or is that related to how much of the story you want to tell in between those points, or not want to tell, as you're talking about, right? I largely agree that not every show should be fully newsworthy, and not even newsworthy, but it shouldn't be, oh my god, this happened. Not everything needs to be that major beat. Some weeks can just have the baby faces or the heels stand tall, celebrating, having a moment. They don't need to have some big return, some big title win, some big, bloodbath. It doesn't need to be that way. You can have, again, how many weeks did we have Solo Sikoa and his bloodline standing tall, and people are just like, well, SmackDown goes off the air and here we are. But something else happened on the show. That's the other side of it too. As you're telling these main stories, you have to hope that the undercard also pulls its own weight in the stories that they're telling, so that they have those impactful moments to balance out the weekly television. This is another thing that's, sometimes gets lost on any company. So how do you make one story important one week while continuing to have your main story kind of flourish throughout its storytelling process?
Well, they've got the talent to where that shouldn't be an issue, because if nothing, let's say nothing, I don't want to say nothing happens, but if there's not a big story with the Blackpool Combat Club stuff, okay, here's something going on with MJF. MJF always feels like an important piece of the show. So whatever he's doing will feel pretty important. Will Ospreay, I don't know if Will Ospreay is going to get involved at least immediately with the Blackpool stuff, but whatever he's doing typically feels pretty important on the show. The Young Bucks should feel that way. They've gotten a little not that way over the past few months, but when they, and largely because they're not even always on the show, but if they are on the show, they should feel that way. Kind of the same thing with Okada. So they've got the guys to where stuff should feel important. And then the women's division, it wasn't a great night for the women's division at WrestleDream. Anna Jay and Harley Cameron was like fine, but all anybody wants to talk about is the referee putting Harley Cameron's shoulder down, which I don't know why that happened, but it did. And then Mariah May and Willow was very good. I take nothing away from the match. Yeah. But now I'm just wondering where Mariah is going to go, because we thought there'd be some Mina Shirakawa stuff and there was nothing. And now it still looks like they're going to do something with that. They have to circle back around to that at some point. But I thought we'd get a little bit more off of that to make something feel important in the women's division coming out of this show. Mercedes was there. They set up the Queen Aminata match, which is like fine, but it was also, wait, why aren't we getting Chris Statlander and Camille on this show? I just felt like they could have done a little bit more.
So we have 6 weeks until Full Gear, give or take. I do like that they held back, and someone else had mentioned, they showed restraint with the Bobby Lashley stuff, and we'll talk about what's going on in that world as well. Okay, let me preface this with, could there have been more in the women's division on Saturday? Absolutely. And we talked about how it could have been Camille versus Chris Statlander. That would have been a really good beat to move forward in the Mercedes and Chris Statlander story. Yes, 100%. Given as things are right now, I can see them. So obviously they're doing Mercedes and Queen Aminata on Wednesday. That's been announced. That will probably turn into a tag match with Aminata and Chris versus Camille and Mercedes, which would then get us to Chris versus Camille, which by Full Gear will get us to Chris versus Mercedes. Again, the story being externally, I guess outside of the bubble, Chris in her home area going up against Mercedes, therefore getting a lot of media attention, therefore getting a lot of opportunities to speak, and hopefully both women go and do their respective job selling the match as well. So for that, I'm willing to excuse it. The Mina stuff with Mariah is a good example of just letting something happen on pay-per-view. The match was really good. The match was actually really good. they hit the shit out of each other. They went hard. I really enjoyed Willow and Mariah. Now with Mina Shirakawa, it feels like that's something that you can start on Wednesday, bring back on Wednesday, because this match, Willow and Mina didn't really have anything. They weren't in each other's orbit going into this. So it didn't make sense to do this to have Willow and Mina interact in any meaningful way. Instead, keep them in the back and remind us that this was set up because of what happened on Dynamite and the matches that Willow won to get her there. Standalone match of the, a women's match of the month type of thing. Well, women's defense of the month for Mariah May. Now you can bring back Mina as early as Wednesday and maybe start building to whatever that story is going to be, because ultimately it really does feel like Mariah May, Toni Storm, you got to get that all the way to February if we're going to do that at Grand Slam Australia. And that's far away. You've got 2 pay-per-views. You've got a big gap in January where you're trying to build things further. And like Kate's saying, Willow is in case of emergency break glass. This was always planned for her to have this match, but like they showed you right away, Willow and Mariah were going to absolutely beat the crap out of each other, and that was evident when Mariah headbutted Willow after she won the 4-way contenders match. And then they just made this these 2 women beat the shit out of each other match. The story will continue with Mariah and her build as champion after this. That's how
and that's fine, because it kind of proves the point that they can do baby step storytelling as long as they have an endpoint, which if the endpoint is Toni and Mariah at Grand Slam, maybe it's Mariah and Mina. Someone said Wrestle Dynasty, which would make sense. That's in Japan. That's where they both kind of built their names up. So that would make sense there. So it goes to show that they can do kind of baby step storytelling. You just gotta trust that the fans will be there for it. And I think some people are a little upset that more isn't happening with Mariah May immediately coming off of the Toni Storm victory. And it's like, oh, why isn't Mariah May doing more stuff? I think they haven't lost the plot, but they have lost some stuff of like, she was going to have her celebration and then they just sort of dropped that whole thing. And then it was the teases of Mina, and then Mina did show up, and then Mina kind of went off into the background. Like they've given you stuff, but they've almost pulled it back too far to where they should have kept kind of giving you those little things when Willow became inserted into all of this. And maybe they pick that back up on Wednesday.
Yeah. I'd like to see them pick it up on Wednesday, start telling that story and just moving it forward. And again, they showed restraint throughout the night for certain things that could have ended with returns. The big return moments ended up being after the TNT title match. Jack Perry beats Shibata. It was what it was. We talked about the finish and how you felt about it. The match was expected the way it was. Afterwards, you have Danny Garcia come out, and then MJF makes his return. There's a big pop, big reaction from that. Does the beat down to Daniel Garcia. I really love the whole, like, my ring. I went to Buffalo and I found the pawn shop. I was like, from the get-go, I sat there and I said, I don't think the ring actually was lost. I think he's just doing a long story arc bullshit thing. I don't think the original ring was lost. I know Alvarez said that the ring was lost and it was legit. But there's also some stuff in the newsletter this week where I was like, some stuff that, whatever. I don't think the ring was ever lost.
Don't believe any of that bullshit.
That's right. Thank you. You have to put that out on IG. That's the only way that it works. Put it out on every Instagram account you know. But the ring's back, and then out comes Adam Cole. He's back. This was kind of the way to do it and have that big, we have our return moment. And I like that this is how they played it out. I know there were people out there who were kind of like, oh, last time we saw Adam Cole, he was a heel, and last time we saw MJF, da-da-da. They kind of scrubbed out that story by doing that one spot, and they should have. But to me, when MJF, took out Adam Cole in that one random segment, to me, that was like, oh, Adam Cole's going to come back as a babyface. That's it. That was just kind of the scrub for me. So for Cole to come back and be considered a babyface, expected, appreciated, do the match the way it was supposed to be. Adam Cole's the good guy. MJF is the bad guy. Hopefully, Garcia does not get lost in the sauce while he's going after Jack Perry and the TNT title. But you got to get all 4 men involved. I'm taking Shibata out of it. Oh, Shibata and Garcia will probably do a tag match of some sorts, because there was the whole, good to see you, congratulations for re-signing moment backstage at Dynamite when Garcia resigned. But you got to then you move on from Shibata and you have those 4 guys contend for the TNT title, hopefully with Garcia coming out on top, going after Jack Perry. Just to then move Cole and MJF away.
Joel, one day, people are going to actually listen to this show.
God forbid.
people are going to realize how much knowledge we actually drop on this show. How much insight we actually give to things. Well, this is for the hardcore audience here. This is for the sickos for this show, right? Can we call it the weeders? Whatever we call them.
What are we calling them? People have called them Wheaties.
Wheaties.
But I feel like we might get sued for that.
Yeah, probably. What did I say was going to happen on Friday, Joel? What did I say?
Adam Sandler would come back.
I said Daniel Garcia comes out after Jack Perry wants to keep on beating up Shibata, and then MJF would return, and MJF would come after Garcia, and then we'd get the devil. All right. And I said Little Nicky, the devil, Adam Sandler. I was close. Joel. I was so close.
You got Little Adam instead.
Yeah, I was so close to being correct, wasn't I? So close. Almost like knew something. Almost like I knew something.
Who would ever think that you and I would know anything?
Yeah.
What is wrong?
Who would think important people would like my tweets?
My tweets are on lock, so fuck you guys. I just need more people to understand the clowns have more info than you think. The clowns know more than you might think. No, it's okay.
I like the full-on return stuff when it came to this. I thought it was good. It made a lot of sense. Garcia saving Shibata. They set that up the prior week or the prior Dynamite, I would say. With Shibata and Garcia, and then MJF coming back. He should be going after Garcia. That's the guy who injured him, took him out. And then he just went to film movies, and make millions. And then Adam Cole coming back. Look, it's great to see Adam Cole back. He seems healthy. He was running, so that's positive. It's great to see him back. People are, I guess, mad about the babyface, him being a babyface, and all of this stuff. Like, MJF's a heel again, so the dynamic has just switched. That's all it is. You see that a lot, especially when guys return off of something. They're going to get cheered when they return. MJF is once again a despicable, disgusting heel. And so Adam Cole going after him almost by default makes him the babyface. I do think they need to tie up the devil stuff a little bit. Not so much in like, hey, let's rehash and relive everything that happened. I do think that it just needs to be like a backstage segment with Roddy and an explanation. And the explanation can be as simple as MJF was our target. I don't care if he's a good guy, a bad guy. I don't give a shit. MJF, I knew all along he was a terrible person. I had to put it into him. This is what that was the end game. And that's it. That's all it's got to be. It doesn't have to be. And then you'd never speak of it again. That's all. Maybe it is MJF joining the kingdom, Ryan. Maybe that's what happened. But I do think you need to tie it up a little bit. Just give the fans something. Give us something to show that, hey, we invested months into this story. Don't just drop it out of nowhere. At least show that our investment was a little worthwhile and that you remembered it and you actually wanted to make good on it instead of not mentioning it at all.
The Pinnacle Kingdom. MJF joins, and then he says, by the way, I want you to meet my heavy, Wardlow. And Wardlow's back in the fold. He's going to be my bodyguard.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it's just those two guys. It's just Cole and MJF. They tell the story. Nobody has a big group behind them. Let them be lone wolves, not Baron Corbin, and then move on with the story. Whatever that is. If it's Adam Cole and Switchblade Jay White or whatever, I'm just throwing names out there. Let the stories move forward after you finish whatever Cole and MJF is supposed to be. Don't put a group behind them. Just let them hash out their feud one-on-one. That's where I would sit at it.
No, I'm in agreement with you on that. I don't need the group stuff with them, but I do think you need some type of segment with Cole and Roddy and Taven and Bennett, and if Ward those around, sure, to just tie it up and explain things and not just have them ignore each other and that be it. Fans are going to be happy with it anyway because they've just made up their mind on the Devil storyline. And look, they have every right to. It sucked. It wasn't a good storyline. You couldn't pay off the reveal because Cole was hurt, and you just basically yeah. You couldn't pay anything off, and it got dropped because there was no real great way to tie things up with Cole being hurt and MJF taking time off because he was hurt. And now you can come around to the MJF Max part or the MJF Adam Cole part of it, but the dynamic is flipped to where the Devil stuff doesn't even make a whole lot of sense because it was supposed to be they were the big heel group and MJF was the big baby face. So the dynamic doesn't even work there. But again, at least give me something with Cole and Roddy, and it can be as simple as our whole goal was to take out Max. We accomplished that. We wanted the title off of him because he did not deserve it. He was tricking the fans. He was the real devil, whatever it needed to be, And that's it. Just again, to show everybody, because that's one thing I don't like. And I've talked about it before, is wrapping up storylines and then just dropping them. And it's like, hey, we're not going to mention this. It's just, that's it. It's a disservice to your audience. It makes me as a viewer feel dumb for investing in it. And I'm not saying I invested a whole lot into the Devil storyline. The only thing I invested in is Bryan Danielson. But there were a lot of people who were invested in that storyline. And to just drop it and do nothing, I'm sure a lot of people would just be like, yeah, fine. That's okay. That's fine. But it's a minor thing that at least rewards your audience of like, yeah, you invested a lot into this storyline. You invested your time, your attention into this. We will give you this to kind of tie up loose end on that and then continue with MJF and Adam Cole.
Should have just made it that Adam Cole paid off Mimosa Joe since Cole was injured, just to tie it all up, get it out, and be like, paid him. He won the title. I'll come back when I'm ready to get you. But of course, now Mimosa Joe's not there, so here we are. Where should we go from here? Jay White, Hangman Adam Page opened up the show. I thought this was a really good match. Good. He's so good. This was a lot of fun. You and I talked about it on Friday. Who can win this match? How does it affect everything? I think we both landed on Jay White winning the match, maybe even doing it clean. But regardless, that is how Jay won, and it makes sense. Again, he's back. He's going after people who wronged him. Hangman Adam Page is an unhinged individual, so for him to lose a match, it doesn't hurt him. He's still beside himself when he loses. So everything just worked out for me, at least. I like that Jay's back, and I like that Hangman doesn't really lose much by losing the match. The rankings haven't been a thing, so it doesn't play into it here. And plus, Hangman's not going after the world title right now. He's in other feuds. He's in other worlds. So let Jay White get the win and let him continue to stake his claim for the world title. This was really good stuff, and the match was fantastic.
So I put my buddy Larry Zonka over RP. People were talking about Jay White and just like how good of a counter wrestler he is, his ring awareness, the spot where the buckshot where Hangman setting up for the buckshot and Jay's stumbling to the other side of the ropes so he can't do it. And then he falls down, then he gets up, and then he's close to the ropes where Hangman, like, he doesn't give him the space to do the buckshot because you got to be basically in the middle of the ring. And Jay White's like, no, I'm going to stand in the middle of the ring like a dork and take this move. Instead, I'm going to stand really close to you to where you can't propel yourself, or I'm going to stand really far away to where it doesn't have the impact. Then it's just a clothesline. Like, Jay White is so smart when it comes to that stuff. And go back and you watch any of Jay White's matches. Like, he's such a great counter wrestler. That's something I've tried to point out before, and I don't know if I've done a great job. But in 2018, I believe, Jay White was like just coming off his excursion. Like, he was thrust right into like Wrestle Kingdom against like Tanahashi, Okada. Like, Jay White was given like big time spot right off of the excursion. And Larry Zonka used to always tell me, like, Jay White's going to be that guy. Like, watch the way he wrestles. Watch the way, again, his counters and his ring awareness. That's the two things he always praised to me about Jay White. 2018, everybody. Again, Jay White just coming off of Excursion, just being put as like a top guy in New Japan. Didn't have like a big resume of big time matches behind him by this point. And Larry was telling me of how great Jay White is. Very sad that Larry's no longer here because he would have just killed with all the wrestling that happens nowadays and the way like his analysis, because he watched everything, and I trust his star ratings a lot more than, no offense to Dave, I don't like star ratings anyway, but Larry was, I would look at his star ratings, I'd be like, yeah, if he thinks it's good, it's probably really good, and if he doesn't like it, it probably actually sucks. He was praising Jay White in 2018. I'm going to praise Jay White now. Jay White's fantastic. Thought this match was honestly awesome. Outside of Danielson and Moxley, probably my favorite match. And I know people are going to be like, oh, what about the triple threat match? I really like the triple threat match. This was more my style. This was just a taste preference. And maybe like on the whole, I could probably recognize that the triple threat match was a better match. The action from start to finish was a lot better in the triple threat match. This was more my style. That's all.
Plus, it only went 10 minutes.
White and Hangman?
No, it went 15. It went 6. Yeah, it's actually
that was like 15 minutes.
Yeah, it went 15. So it's right in your wheelhouse. You love that. 17.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a 15-minute match.
That's why I just said 10 minutes.
But,
yeah. Jay White continues to say that the next person the other person he wronged will be unveiled when the time is right, was effectively what he said. Are we still on the camp that it's who did we say it was? We thought maybe Christian was one of those people.
Yeah.
So I'm looking just back at the history in AEW for Jay White. MJF was another name that people talked about. MJF is back. Moxley really does strike another one because he beat Jay and Swerve in the Continental Classic block final. This is a semifinal 3-way.
Yeah.
So it could have been Moxley that he's talking about. And Moxley is the world champion, so it's two birds, one stone. I'm just wondering who else it could be, because looking at his background here, those are some of the people that immediately got in the way of his dreams of being a champion.
I think Darby's a possibility.
Yep.
Darby got hurt in the match against Jay White, and they never really came back around to that, because when Darby came back, he jumped into the elite stuff, and then White was hurt, so they couldn't really go into that. And then Jay came back, obviously, just a couple weeks ago, and Darby was doing open challenges, and now he's jumping into this stuff with Blackpool. But I think Darby's a possibility. Christian is kind of the people who a lot of people were kind of looking at as well. So there's possibilities for Jay. And I think you can make it make sense for a number of people to where it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm just throwing Mox out there because I realized there is some grievances to be aired there, and now Mox is the champion, so it could work. Let's talk about the 3-way. Konosuke Takeshita wins the international championship.
This match sucked.
This match was really good until it got really not good. The action
was awful.
Action was there. The fun was there. Takeshita beats Will Ospreay and Ricochet. Ricochet at the end looked like he got absolutely rocked.
That did look like it sucked, actually. That cradle pile driver, or the tombstone stat, whatever you call it thing.
Whatever that was, through the table.
I don't know if you call it a cradle. It's a tombstone, but his legs are underhooked underneath instead of kind of holding in the tombstone position. So,
it's like a reverse Angel's Wings. It was not Angel's Wings.
What about that?
Sorry, wing clipper. Wing clipper is what it's called. It's a reverse wing clipper, because normally it's the other way around when you land on your butt. Anyway, Ricochet looked rocked by that. They did that, and then also in the main event when Danielson took the tombstone on the table, that was another one where you see his head just kind of compressed, and it was like, did not love that. Match itself, again, really good until they got to the finish. The big story coming out of this was that Kyle Fletcher has made his decision. He is no longer part of the United Empire. He is very firmly in the Don Callis family. And I guess Will Ospreay and Will Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher are next up in the feud. How does Dunkzilla feel about all this? I hope he's okay, but I hope he's incensed.
The most hilarious part of this is like you see the dude slide in the ring, and everyone in the world knows it's Kyle Fletcher. Even like there's 3 announcers. I think Nigel knew it was Fletcher.
Yeah, Nigel. Oh no, was it Nigel or was it Tony? No, it was Nigel. It was Nigel. Nigel.
And then the other 2 announcers are like, who could this be? Who is this man?
It's Kyle Fletcher. Kyle Fletcher.
It was like, oh my god, it's Kyle Fletcher. Like,
are you sure?
It's Kyle Fletcher.
Yes,
you
I'm
idiots.
Sure. You know how
did that blonde hair not give it away?
Was it that he wore a crop top sweater? Is that what it was? It was very funny.
I was dying when they were like, who is this? Who is this? Who is like, what do you mean, who is this? It's very obvious who this is.
It's not Sting. That's a picture of Sting. Not just be like, it's Fletcher.
The match is great. I got nothing bad to say about the match. They did some really innovative stuff for a 3-way match, which is very tough to do in the 3-way format because there's been just so many of them throughout history. Takeshita absolutely rules. He's so good. I'm glad he's finally getting like this shot. I am a little sad that we've almost been robbed of like the babyface Takeshita because he was so fun as just a Cinnabon loving Takeshita, just like happy to be in America, love Cinnabon. I think like you got to be a heel.
They'll come around.
And
then when he does turn, they're the first thing someone's gonna do is be like Cinnabon, and he's gonna be like Cinnabon. And then we're gonna be back, baby.
It was great. The match was fantastic. I had nothing bad to say about the finish. I don't want to say it was too predictable, but okay. I think fine. Kyle Fletcher turns. He uses the screwdriver. I actually thought Ospreay could have maybe sold that a little bit more. Like you just got impaled in the back of the head by the screwdriver, and he acted like he just got slapped in the back of the head. He's like, oh man, what was that minor inconvenience of a screwdriver stabbing me in the back of the head? Like that should have probably been a little bit more effective.
I mean, it's a blunt object. It's not sharp.
What do you mean it's not sharp?
It's not a sharpened object. It's pretty blunt.
It's a screwdriver. It's pretty sharp.
It depends what kind of screwdriver it is.
He didn't stab him with the handle.
No, but like, hold on. Keep talking.
I don't feel like keep talking.
Oh.
He stabbed him with a pretty sharp part. I thought you were grabbing a screwdriver.
I am. It's a screwdriver set. It's a stumpy one, so you're just gonna have to use your imagination.
All right, stab yourself with it and tell me if it hurts.
I feel like I've said that line somewhere before in my life. It's a little stumpy. Just pretend it's longer. Anyway, maybe it was one of these bits. You know those blunt bits. It was one of these.
Nobody can see that. Your camera focus sucks.
It's not an autofocus. That's why. Maybe it was one of these.
No, it was definitely an actual screwdriver.
Yeah, this is an actual screwdriver.
No, that you don't have the screw in there. You don't have the driver.
I gotta get the bit. Yeah, I got the bit in there. You don't understand that there are so many different bits that you can have. Not just the bit.
This wasn't a bit screwdriver. This looked like either a flat or a Phillips head.
See, look at this.
Wasn't one of those, hey, let's replace the bit on there.
There's some flat ones. Yeah, listen, I'm just saying. It could have been a blunt one. This is a pretty controversial comment, though. Getting hit in the head with a screwdriver would hurt. Well, it depends what kind of screwdriver.
Stab yourself in the head with the screwdriver, and let's see how serious you are about this.
One second. Gotta use the right bit for it. Wow, like it's inconvenient.
He like jabbed him with it. He didn't just poke himself.
He didn't really jab him. He just kind of had it like most of the. It's kind of like this, but he still did it with this. It was like the back.
Well, don't ruin the kayfabe here, brother. Like,
what are you talking? I'm not ruining anything. I'm just seeing. I'm just reporting. I'm a professional.
Him with it.
What are you talking about? There. I didn't want people to hear the pop of the stupid screwdriver.
I'm gonna come to your house and stab you with a screwdriver. Let's see how much you hurt.
I could just give you a knife if you want to make it easy.
I feel like it would hurt more than just like man.
if they had just used an Allen key, but like an Allen key that has one of these on the end, right? This would have sucked.
It was
This would have messed you up. But instead they used the screwdriver. You can use it.
A screwdriver hurts.
Screwdriver only hurts if you use it properly. I don't think they used it properly.
Joel, blade. Can you blade?
No, I think Piledriver Finisher says send in your super chats. I think that's the way to do it.
Coward. Do I need to grab a screwdriver and show everybody how it's done?
Ryan saying, I'm finally using the tools I was gifted for Father's Day. I've had these for years. I've got a big one and a small one, and I got here. You want a child's thermometer? You want one of these?
What the hell?
It's an ear
What's
thermometer.
your temperature?
Let's
It's
find
an
out.
ear
I
thermometer.
did just replace the battery on this thing. Let's find out. Hold on. Turn it on.
Was it a flathead? Let's see. Let's
Could have been, I think it's flathead.
Remember when we investigated the
97.5. It's 97.5.
We investigated the bracelet for CM Punk. All right, let's see what this screwdriver is here.
I think it's a flathead.
Did he use a flathead?
I think he used a flathead.
Did use one with a stumpy handle. That is factual.
Oh yeah, no, it's a Fahrenheit one. I ordered it on Amazon.
This screwdriver looks like it sucks. Like,
yeah, man, it's awful.
You are too, Joel. This is not like this man was throwing a 99-mile-per-hour fastball here.
He pulled back real quick, just like Claudio when he
did not pull back.
Danielson. He pulled back.
He did not. Can we show this clip?
Listen, pulling back is good. That's how you don't end up with 27 kids.
Hold on. He did not pull back at all. Hold on. We can show this, right? Are we gonna get knocked off the air?
Is it an image? They were copyright striking the finish from last night.
Okay, look at this man's
from Saturday, I should say.
All right. I'll do a photo. This man was not pulled back. This gives you an idea.
Back and to the left.
No. This man got destroyed with this shot. Hold on. Look at the way his head. You can see it in the hair. Look at that. That was not pulled back. Look at the way his head is bopping forward.
The crop top that does it for me.
He got killed on this screwdriver shot. I'm rewatching it. He went out. This should have been a knockout blow, honestly. You know what? -5 stars for this match. Will Ospreay can't sell.
-5 stars. Okay, well, you know. Ospreay can't sell. Run it in the papers, baby. Louis, I didn't want to say it. I was thinking it.
Here's my issue. Here's my issue with this. I'm gonna shoot hard on this match here.
My God.
Ospreay sells the shock like Bryan Danielson sold the shock when Claudio uppercutted him. But there's a big difference between getting hit with an uppercut and getting hit in the back of the head with a screwdriver. A huge difference. Like, that's the sell that Ospreay was going for. He was going for the Danielson shock sell, but it wasn't the move to do a Danielson shock sell.
But
it was a move of, shit, that sucked. That actually hurt.
One might contend that Will Ospreay's neck is stronger than most. Therefore,
it's not his neck, though. We got hit in the back of the head.
I think it was like the top of the back of the neck, like just around.
What are you talking about, Joel? I'm rewatching this clip. It was the friggin' top of the head. It was right in the back of the head. It was almost to the temple.
Hold on. You got that image still? I know you do. There it is.
Yeah. It was almost to the temple. This was not the neck at all.
It's starting to look like maybe Fletcher threw a forearm.
Anyway. We can't show the video because we'll get copyright, but like,
go find it on
Twitter.
Go
rewatch this thing.
Yeah.
He killed him with this shot.
Well, apparently
Fletcher's got kind of an ass on him.
That's what Louis said. I agree. Just listen, he knows. He knows. His partner knows. His tag team partner knows. Come on. They'll have a glued off at the next show. The show got real weird real fast.
Anyway, this match sucked because Will Ospreay can't sell. Clip it.
Poor Ricochet. What's going to happen to Ricochet now? Ricochet's done, man. He's washed. It's over. Send him to Ring of Honor. It's over. He can compete for the Ring of Honor World Championship against Mark Briscoe because Chris Jericho ain't the one. No nueve. I'm sorry.
Good. As I said, Mark Briscoe had to win this match because they can't invoke Jay's name and then have Chris Jericho win. Plus, they did that finish earlier in the night when the Young Bucks were like, hey, you dorks, you jobbers, you geeks who will never win. LOL, you lost again.
Yep. That's all I have to say about that. Briscoe retains. Jericho lost the match. We talked about it on Friday. It made sense for Jericho to drop the fall given the story. Bucks beating Private Party surprised a lot of people. You and I talked about the idea that maybe this is step one in Private Party's real rise to prominence. They got a little too cocky despite how they were feeling. Bucks got the win. All the pals were out there. You had Top Flight with the re-signed Leo Rush at ringside. All the losers were out. Stokely Hathaway was out. All the losers were out. And all the losers were taken care of because the Bucks retained. Match was fine. It was really about what is the tag division right now than anything else. But Private Party were clearly feeling dejected after losing.
I didn't mind the Bucks winning. I thought the Bucks were going to win. That wasn't surprising. I would not have done the you guys are mid-card losers who will never win the big one and then have them lose. I like the video package with Amazing Red beforehand. Like all that was cool. You can lose off of that. The pre-match promo felt very unnecessary, and then them to lose.
They pushed that so hard. It was so close.
It was a little unnecessary there. Like, I don't know. I assume that Stokely is going to link up with Private Party, and now that'll be the reason why they win type of thing. Stokely is, I guess, a good guy coming off of this because this Private Party is going to get cheered. Private Party is going to get cheered. They are.
Give Stokely Gates of Agony and move on. Just move on. Let Stokely dressing up as the members of Gates of Agony and just let him turn it into a comedy act, but have Private Party do their own thing.
Brian Cage is the TV champion now, so
there you go. Cage of Agony's back, baby.
When's Hologram going to get the world title? That's all I care about.
Well, not on Saturday, that's for sure. Because while he did beat Beast Mortos, he got pinned, Jeremy. Big loser. Hologram.
Nah, he still won. He won the match. He can lose a fall. It's okay. I still would have just had him win both falls. No offense to Beast Mortos. I like Beast Mortos, but Hologram's the guy. That man should be headlining shows.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was fine. It was mostly done because of the New Mexico deal, which is great. Not New Mexico, USA, the new deal in Mexico. No, it's not a new deal either. In the US, people would get confused by that. A new television deal in Mexico. That made sense. Took 3 tries, but I got there. Anyway, so they did the match. It was fine. It was good. Like people in the chat are praising it. And that's good. I think you should praise it because it was a really fun match. It was very much a Saturday night match, and that's what they did. So we move on. It was fine. Hologram will continue to win matches and hopefully challenge next for the Continental Championship after Kyle O'Reilly loses to Okada.
Yeah, Kyle O'Reilly was like, "Give me a match," and Okada's like, "Nah, bitch," and that was that.
Remember when Claudio Okada versus Kyle O'Reilly next week on Collision?
Yeah. Remember when that's not going to be on Collision? You kidding me?
There's collaborations out there, so you got to put it on. You're right. It'll probably be on Rampage.
Yeah, they'll put it on Dynamite. Okada ain't working Collision, brother.
But only the first 20 minutes.
Unless it's a taped Collision show, then Okada might work it. He ain't working a live Collision match. That doesn't work for him.
We'll see where it goes. It's just out there. What are we missing from this? I think that we got all the matches from the main card. Darby Allin and Brody King happened, and that was a great match. The Rock didn't come into play, but they certainly beat the shit out of each other in other ways. I know. Should have had the Rock out there. Either way, Darby Allin gets the win at home. Good for him.
They used the steps. A lot of step involvement.
It was tables, ladders, chairs, and stairs.
That was a good match, and Darby winning, right call, especially with the closing angle and everything. I hope we're getting like a singles push for Brody King. I don't know if we are. They still got House of Black allegiances. Maybe Julia Hart will be back soon. but we should get a Brody King singles push. I still think they missed an opportunity with him coming out of the Continental Classic to do a little bit more as a singles guy. And now it feels like maybe they're retconning it. It's not retconning it, but like picking that back up and hopefully they'll do something with him as a singles guy. Hopefully.
Yeah. So those were the matches. The segment that we need to talk about is, of course, Swerve's return. Gets the big entrance. Nana's out there and he does his "My coffee's great," does the dance, introduces Swerve, and Swerve comes out. New presentation in terms of his spotlight. He gets the Batista presentation. He's got the Dave Batista. He does the spotlight comes down, the pyro goes off, everyone's excited. Former world champion, and then out comes MVP. He's got his new theme playing.
Jesus.
That's his theme music. It's great. Get your attention every time. And he comes out and this all ends with no Bobby Lashley, which people had been expecting to see him, but we're not going to get Bobby just yet. Fightful Select reported that while Bobby's still on his way, the decision was made to not have him come out at this show, maybe to save the idea that you beat down two guys in their hometown on the night. It looks bad, both from a creative standpoint, from presentation standpoint. I'm glad that they waited off on it. I'd rather just see Bobby come in, on a very special standalone moment. People kind of give shit to Jake Hager coming in on the first Dynamite, but like that was a moment. Whether or not you cared about Jake Hager, that was still a debut for him. It was a standalone moment for him, along with the four other guys in the ring. My point being, if you let Bobby make his debut on his own episode of Dynamite, that's good. But Swerve is staying with Prince Nana. Prince Nana is still selling weed to high school children. Feels like
that seems illegal.
It is a crime. It is in fact a crime. Probably shouldn't do that, but it's been alluded to. Here we are. You might, if you're in New Jersey around Full Gear weekend, find out where and do with that information.
Don't go hang around high schools looking for weed. Don't.
Here in Canada, you can get it just about anywhere. There's a
don't
billion.
Tell our audience to do this, Joel.
I'm not telling our audience to do anything. No, I said find out where and do with that information what you will. I'm leaving it open-ended to them.
Stop it.
Listen,
you think his coffee shop is a drug front?
Now that is a step too far. Claudio would be very upset with that comment. Claudio's out here making a mint on his own coffee gimmick. So how dare you? But to answer your question, yes, probably.
I feel like it's a drug front.
Could you imagine? That's how I get my weed money, he says. They're just admitting to crimes on live on the air. But yeah, Bobby Lashley doesn't show up. Swerve just gets his comeuppance. He's good. He's sticking with Nana. Really, the big news coming out of this whole thing is Lio Rush announces he's all elite in a backstage exclusive, and it looks like we're getting Shelton Benjamin versus Lio Rush on Wednesday Night Dynamite, which I'm all for it. Is Bobby going to side with Lio? I'm just kidding.
I think that's probably how you bring in Bobby Lashley is he beats up Lio. It's like, oh, remember when they were a thing? Show your ass, Bobby.
Maybe they do a tease where he's like, hey, but you also, you think Leo's going to play up being nice about it. And then Bobby just destroys Lio after the match.
Nah. This segment, I understand why they did it. You want Swerve to get the hometown pop. Cool. Man, without the Lashley interference or debut, it felt a little flat. It just they shoved and they pulled apart, and then that was that. It's like, oh, that was all. We don't get a little bit more off of this, but I do think it was probably for the best that, hey, let's not lay out our top two baby faces in their hometowns just for Lashley would have gotten cheered. That's the thing. Lashley would have gotten cheered off of this, and you didn't have to do a big beatdown, obviously, the way you did with Bryan Danielson. But it felt like just a very flat segment when it was over. It was a nice reset after, because I think it followed the triple threat match, so it was a nice reset after the triple threat match at the very least. And it's like, okay, now let's get into more wrestling off of this. Like, I think it had its place on the show. It just felt a little flat without a little bit more. Like, I don't know if I guess he didn't want to do Swerve like hitting a move on somebody, but no Lashley. Like, it just felt like you needed a little something extra for this.
So I agree with you that this deserved to be on the show because it also just breaks up match, and it lets something breathe. It's supposed to be story progression, and it is story progression. Maybe this should have been a beat, but the next beat really is that Bobby Lashley comes in and completes the trifecta of these guys. You don't hear the actual MVP / Hurt Syndicate theme until you get the full Hurt Syndicate. So yeah, I can see why some people were like, nah, it didn't need to be a segment, but I think it really needed to be on the show. I think an in-ring segment can be on the show to break up a long show like this, as long as it's an impactful segment. Something happens, some reveals, some debut, whatever it is, to make it more special, especially for those who are investing the money and the time to watch a show like this. But otherwise,
I would have had MVP like actually hit Prince Nana. Because the shoving
with Kane, and then Nana just throws his coffee at him, and then MVP's just like, well, this is weed.
Like, the shoving just felt weak. That's really what it was. Like, it had its place. I'm okay with holding off on Bobby Lashley because, again, I understand why you didn't want to do Danielson and Swerve both getting beat down in their hometown. Like, I'm okay with that, and it did show good restraint of like, hey, we already had MJF return. We already had Adam Cole return. Now we're going to have Bobby Lashley debut. And we just had Kyle Fletcher turn. Like, that would have been a lot of that. That was literally all back to back to back to back to back.
And we got to do the end of the night.
Yeah. So it would have been like a lot in a row. It just felt like the segment needed a little bit more for what it was. And the shoving just felt weak. Like, if MVP like hits Nana and Swerve and Shelton maybe trade some blows before getting separated, like, that would have probably been a little bit more impactful. The shoving, again, it was just like, all right, wow, these guys really don't like each other. They're gonna shove each other. Ooh, it's a little weak.
Wrestling needs more shoving. Me Norma sent a super chat saying, hello, bruvs, let's crank. Let's crank indeed. I'm trying to manifest a feud / partnership of Beef and the Butcher. Two things I'm passionate about. Also, the Pyro and Swerve's intro is the right amount for a barbed wire death match. I do agree with that last statement, especially. Beef and the Butcher, I'd be fine with that, but I feel like Beef should be afraid of the Butcher because the Butcher would want to chop up Beef.
Yeah, right? I don't know.
That's why Butcher and Blade work together, because the Butcher needs a blade and the blade needs a butcher for efficacy.
Like, on one hand, like, it makes sense that they'd be a team. On the other hand, it does feel like conflicting interests there.
It's like putting the Butcher up with a vegan.
Wow.
Who's a vegan on the roster?
Well, they murdered the one vegan on the roster.
I don't think he's been a vegan for years. I think that's been gone for a little while.
Now he's dead.
Well, now he's dead. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's okay. Anyway, that's Wrestle Nightmare. We got through it. We talked about it.
It was a really good show, and it set up a lot moving forward. The issue is never pay-per-views with AEW. I think everybody can agree on that. The pay-per-views always are fantastic. It's the television that follows that can be sometimes of a drag because stories get lost or they just don't follow up on stuff. It really felt like they set up a lot of good stuff coming out of the show. And I hope, and I know you talked about this a lot, Joel, is like they've been so bogged down with so many Dynamite specials come between the last pay-per-view and this pay-per-view, and not even having like a big break between All In and the next pay-per-view, because it was 2 weeks later, was All Out. And then as you said, like, then you got 5th anniversary, you got Grand Slam, you got Title Tuesday, you got all these special Dynamites. That stuff just got kind of lost in all of that. Now you got like 6 weeks before Full Gear. You got no specials. No, at least you haven't named any specials.
You got Battle of the Boards. Don't forget.
No Dynamite specials. I'm not counting Battle of the Belts. That doesn't count. You got no Dynamite specials coming up. it feels like you can really hone in on these stories coming out of WrestleDream and going into Full Gear. And I hope that there's some real good follow-up coming out of this, because I think they set up a lot of good stuff on top of just delivering a really strong pay-per-view in-ring wise.
I wonder if they're going to do something fun for Dynamite in Cleveland.
Wrestling's not fun.
Wrestling's not fun. You're right.
I've already said, people got mad at me. Like, I understand this Cleveland show was booked months in advance. Like, you got to have the venue and stuff. That could be a really shitty night for AEW. That's LeBron's coming back to Cleveland, potentially his last game in Cleveland, because it's not like the Lakers travel to Cleveland. They only come once a year because it's a Western Conference, Eastern Conference game. So potentially, I don't think LeBron's retiring after this year, but potentially his last game in Cleveland, his first game with his son in Cleveland. That's a big deal. It's also possible that there's a World Series game going on that same night where it might not be in Cleveland. It might be whoever they face in the World Series, but there is a World Series game that night, and Cleveland's in the Final Four. They're in the ALCS, so it's very possible they're in the World Series. So even if that game's not in Cleveland, fans will maybe want to stay home and just watch that game instead. If the game's in Cleveland, then you're looking at LeBron, World Series, AEW. These arenas are like 15 minutes from each other. They're all in the same like downtown grouping area. That could be a complete disaster.
Or you can call it Spooky Halloween Dynamite. The whole ring is black. Everything's black. Everything's tarped off and everything's okay. What? It's the 30th of October.
I understand that, but this sounds awful.
Yeah, well, so are a lot of things we talk about. We're clowns. The next like Dynamite special is Thanksgiving, and that's the Dynamite after Full Gear. So there you go. Everything else is a regular scheduled promoted Dynamite.
Yeah,
with a lot of different people on these promotional posters. They don't reuse any of these.
It's a lot of John Moxley. I mean,
it's a lot of John Moxley. But it's funny because it's like, so the Dynamite one for like December, I'm just looking on the website. December 11th, Moxley's face it's close up, it's in the front, and then you pull back on the 27th, that Thanksgiving one, it's like it's a mid shot, so it's less of his face. And then you go back to the 30th, it's like the shot of him being like cocky, but it's Will Ospreay in the middle. They really just moved the shit around. Someone has a job to do this. I don't know why you don't just use the same ones over and over again. San Jose has the backdrop of the city in it.
Yeah, maybe that's a special episode.
Cleveland also has the backdrop of the city in it. Philly has the backdrop, but Cedar Rapids, Iowa does not.
Well, what's there to look at in Cedar Rapids, you know?
That's fair.
Yeah.
But like they go to Reading, PA, no. Nothing for Albany. Well, I get it. Just,
I do love like
so
you're looking at John Moxley. I'm looking at Darby Allin, who's on like all of these posters.
There's all of them. Yeah, you're right. Except for the one I'm currently looking at where they're at the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City.
He's got a different like a different gimmick going on in every single shot here.
But you can always tell because he's wearing the pink sweater.
Yeah, it's like they clearly just did like come in for promotional photos and they're just like, all right, now look forward.
Oh, hold on.
Okay.
The Collision St. Louis has the.
He does do this. He does do like this little gimmick a lot.
Oh, he's doing the this in the Collision one in St. Louis and the one in Chicago. Same one. He's basically in the same spot. Anytime he's small, he's using the same. It's the same pose. Where's the pink? Yeah, it's always that one, except for one where he's doing this one, the Undertaker style. Come to AEW Collision, or I will do a skateboard stunt.
Darby's gonna win.
Win what?
Win the title. All.
Oh, okay. I mean, eventually,
every single one of them.
Have him do it. I'm all about it.
Every single one of them.
Hilarious. Shall we talk about other stuff that happened in the world of wrestling from this past weekend? We have about half hour left before we got to get out of here.
Hiroshi Tanahashi and John Cena are both ending their full-time runs in 2025. This is like the saddest time for wrestling. Bryan Danielson's dead.
All the goats are being put out to pasture.
And now next year, John Cena and Hiroshi Tanahashi are both ending their full-time runs. This sucks. Like Tanahashi, at this point, he is what he is. Like, if you've watched Tanahashi over the past few years, you can tell that just he don't move like he used to. Everybody gets old. Father Time catches up with all of us. His knees are basically just completely shot. But it still sucks that Tanahashi's just calling it a career. Not this year, but 2026 Wrestle Kingdom is going to be his last match. That was announced today. Very sad. I assume he'll wrestle some matches in America. If he comes around here, I gotta make it a point to see Hiroshi Tanahashi one more time.
Tana should win the Continental Championship and then promptly say, "That's enough of that," and throw it away. They should. Do you think they do one more Okada Tanahashi match?
Yes.
Feels inevitable, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels like they're going to do another Okada Tanahashi match. I wouldn't be surprised if I could see Wrestle Dynasty. I know that's sooner rather than later. I could also see. It feels like you got to do it in Japan. I don't know if you can do that because I was going to say Forbidden Door. Forbidden Door is in England this upcoming year. So maybe you can do it at Forbidden Door. But it feels like you do it in Japan one last time. The Wrestle Dynasty would make some sense.
Yeah, Tanahashi retires with the Continental title, and then we get a tournament. It's almost as if it was always the plan, folks.
Tanahashi just can't. He's going to try to do the G1 next year, and it's going to be so sad. Like, he didn't even do the G1 this year. They knew, like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't do this. But he's going to try it next year just because it's going to be like, well, it's his last year. Let's put him in there. His block is going to be like Yano and Takahashi,
Yujiro.
Yano.
Yeah. No, get Tokyo Pimp in there. Have him work.
And the final member of the block is Yano.
It'll be the C block, also known as the clown block, just for Tana.
That's all it's going to be. It's just going to be Yano the entire time.
Yano matches.
And those would rule.
Tony Khan's like, I'm never watching the G1 ever again. Yeah, it should be Mike Mizanin should be in the G1. Again, the M1 Miz, we're here for it.
It's there. Tanahashi's going to do this G1 next year. And I hope he doesn't try to do G1 matches. He's going to have like a few big matches left in him. He is. I don't know when he'll break that. Maybe one of them will be against Okada, but he's going to do like the big Tanahashi epic match. And he's going to get the crowd's going to be there with him, right? That's the biggest thing. The crowd loves Tanahashi, and he's so good at just pulling you in with the way he wrestles that they're going to be there with him. But he's also going to try to do like matches that he just can't do anymore, and it's going to be sad.
But it'll be okay because it's only for 1 year, and then he'll move along. I don't know what other matches he's going to have. Like, I don't know what he wants out of this going away party. Again, Okada seems like a shoe-in. The Wrestle Dynasty opportunity is there for this year. Young Bucks are going to be part of this. Kenny Omega has on socials, on New Japan socials, talked about teaming up with Tanahashi and doing something. If Kenny's good and the Bucks are there, Kenny needs to get his, he's got to get his payback on the Bucks. This could kick off Tanahashi's final year. Could do Tana and Kenny versus the Bucks at Wrestle Dynasty, which is a pretty fun match for me to watch. Don't know how intense it would be, but I would like it. I think I'd enjoy it.
If Kenny's healthy, Kota Ibushi said like 2 to 3 months for Kenny.
Well, seems like a Wrestling Dynasty is the plan at that point.
Kenny's made it no secret of like, if he can do Wrestle Dynasty, he wants to do Wrestle Dynasty. And he even said, I would like to team with Tanahashi to face like the Young Bucks. So if Kenny can do the match, Wrestle Dynasty makes a lot of sense for that match. I just don't know. I don't know what Kenny's health is. It can only go. He has been training, which has been good to see. Again, Coda said hopefully 2 to 3 months. But then what's that look like after that? Because Kenny Omega is not a guy who's coming back to like do some half-ass stuff. Like he's not. So I don't think Kenny's returning unless he thinks he can be Kenny Omega still. And I don't think he's going to return until then. And I don't know if it's January or if he can come back before that, or it might be after that. But if Kenny's healthy and he can wrestle at Wrestle Dynasty, I think Tanahashi and Kenny against the Young Bucks makes a lot of sense.
And then Tanahashi and Kenny Omega for the AEW World Tag Team Championships at Revolution.
I guess you could. Sure.
Depends how you want to do it. At that point, you kind of have to assume that the Young Bucks are going to win. But the first match, so we don't have to do the second match.
No, they can just lose the first match, because I don't know if the Young Bucks are going to be champions come January. They might not be the champions.
They're holding the titles in their big announcements.
Well, of course, they're the champions now.
They look like such big bitches.
Do you think they had to win at what was the pay-per-view we just talked about? WrestleDream. Yeah. Do you think I was ready to flip and confuse WrestleDream and Wrestle Dynasty. Do you think they had to win at WrestleDream because like they pre-taped this video for Wrestle Dynasty? And so they're like, wait, no, guys. We sent in this video to New Japan already. We can't lose the titles. And then New Japan airs this video and we have the titles on us and we're not the champions. We can't do that. We have to win this match. That's what I'm choosing to believe now.
This is why I miss BTE in its original format, because that is absolutely something they would have done as a bit. And it would have been hilarious for us because this is something that would have been the perfect bit. It's just the Bucks being like you said, yep, can't lose them. We got to have these titles until Wrestle Dynasty. Otherwise, we're faking out the fans. We're not giving them what they want. And what do? We give the people what they want here in AEW. It's part of our mission statement. All right, good talk, guys. And then you go out and everyone's like, they're just ripping up scripts. Like, all right, someone go tell Private Party. I would have done it on a
private party. I mean, they did the jokingly, that doesn't work for us, brother. Tweet. So I choose to believe that this was pre-recorded before WrestleDream, and so they had to win, and they planned this out. They're like, this is all a plot. They're like, wait, if we have the titles on our shoulder for this video, we have to win at Wrestle. They can't have us lose at WrestleDream. Otherwise, everyone looks stupid. We can't do that. Maybe great.
Oh man. Anyway, let's see what happens with Tanahashi. On the other side of things, Zack Sabre Jr. wins the IWGP World Title, beats Tetsuya Naito.
People are very happy about this.
People are very happy about this. It looks like Shota Umino is wanting to challenge next for the title.
Sonata's next.
Sonata's next, but Shota did mention wanting a shot down the road, or winning his way to a shot.
Shota and Shingo came out afterwards, and they both were like, "Hey, I beat you in the G1, and so we should get a shot." So maybe they do Shota against Shingo to see who the number one contender is. But regardless, the next challenger is Sonata at Royal Quest on Sunday.
Should be fun. Looking forward to that match. But ZSJ winning got a lot of people happy. Objectively, Naito's title reign was okay. Wasn't groundbreaking, but it had moments. Really, it had a Jon Moxley in the middle, which
it didn't have any moments. He made one title defense.
That was the moment. Jon Moxley was the moment.
Well, so he beat Moxley for the title.
Yeah, I know, but then Moxley had beaten him originally. We did a little flip-flopping and flying to get there. But ZSJ winning was the play. Hopefully this is going to, start changing some of the conversation around the presentation at the top of New Japan. They certainly have a lot of guys coming out to want next, who have not been, well, I mean, Shota hasn't been in the title picture. Shingo hasn't, but obviously Sonata's a former champion. So it's good. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what plays out here. ZSJ as a champion is different, and I'm all about different. Roman Reigns came back on SmackDown. No Yeet. So, now everyone's just running to that one. Like, oh, when he says Yeet, that's gonna make the whole difference. That's gonna change. That's gonna cement the big babyface that babyface turn for Roman. And we've been sitting here for weeks saying that, Jeremy. We're ahead of this game. Jimmy Uso welcomed us to SmackDown.
And Jimmy Uso was like, we need help. I was like, didn't I see Roman Reigns take out all these losers like by himself 2 weeks ago? Jimmy's screwing things up as usual.
Big Jim. More like big bitch. Whatever. It's all leading into War Games. Roman Reigns cuts his first real promo since coming back. And basically says, I don't like being I don't like not being in control. I still need to run everything. And then they're just going to they're going to try to run everything. The War Games match is going to be fun. We just need to eventually figure out who the 5 men are.
I don't know if it's going to be 5. I still think it's just going to be 4.
Okay. I know we talked about it. They haven't done 4-on-4 on main roster men's War Games. This is going to be the third one, right? 2022, 2023. So this will be the third year where they've done War Games on the main roster. The NXT War Games were 4-on-4 for a little bit. But yeah, well, if it's 4-on-4, that's fine. It's got to work with the story.
It will work with the story.
Right, but I'm just saying it's got to be... the point being that it has to work with the... we're agreeing here. We are agreeing. Okay. KO with his turn. Do you still keep everyone away from this Bloodline story as a result?
Yes. Why are we putting them in the Bloodline story?
Some people were trying to put them back in, and I disagree with wanting to do that because they think that it needs to be 5-on-5, or they think that because Cody is or was involved, that then they all have to be involved. I'm in agreement with you here. Now that we've separated KO and we've added something to the story, I would rather have KO, Randy, Cody doing their own thing. Cody's obviously incensed, but Cody also has to focus on Gunther, and it's starting to feel like Gunther might just win that match in Saudi as a result of Cody keeping his eyes off the prize. Gunther doesn't have any problems right now. Nobody's gunning for him the same way that Cody has some people going after him. So this is, at least some stories are being kind of planned out throughout this build to, I was about to call it Royal Crown, the show in Saudi Arabia.
I don't need Cody at all in the Bloodline story. He's done. He's got bigger stuff with Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, and more immediately Gunther. Cody's going to be on Raw tonight. It's a taped episode. I won't spoil anything, but he's going to be on Raw tonight with a face-to-face with Gunther, and they'll set up some stuff coming off of that. But no, we don't need them in the Bloodline story. Kevin Owens and Randy Orton will maybe be a Survivor Series match. I don't know if you're going to do a triple threat there. Not really sure how they're going to go with that.
We can do KO and Randy at Saudi. The winner gets Cody at Survivor Series.
That's fair. You could do that.
Do you do KO again versus Cody? You got to remember where you're going for Survivor Series. You'll be in Canada. You'll be in Vancouver.
Yeah, I'd put the belt on KO too.
Okay. Listen, this is something that you do every single time there's a defense, but every single time there's kind of a reason to do it. I don't know if we're there yet with Cody. I mean, I think in this run around, I don't think we're there because now we're getting a little too close to the end of the year.
They're not going to put the belt on KO at Survivor Series unless, here's the thing. Here's how you could actually have the belt on Kevin Owens. You could put it on him at Survivor Series, and then he loses it back to Cody, either Raw, Netflix debut, or potentially the Rumble. A lot is still up in the air with where The Rock falls and all this. I'm still working on the assumption that he's working WrestleMania. I don't know if he's going to be against Cody, if he's going to be against Roman, if it's going to be a triple threat match. I don't know what that looks like. I don't think this is not a good idea. Please don't. I'm not going to act like it is. It'd be hilarious for me. You put the belt on Kevin at Survivor Series, put it back on Cody at Raw Netflix. Here comes The Rock at the end of Raw Netflix. He comes out, he confronts Cody. You put the belt on Rock at Royal Rumble. Roman wins the Rumble. Rock and Roman at WrestleMania. Cody can kick rocks.
You just did a lot of things there that hurt.
The main thing I did was Cody can kick rocks, and we're getting Roman and Rock at Royal Rumble or at WrestleMania. That's what matters. Roman, Rock, WrestleMania.
But where does Jimmy and Jey Uso fit into all this?
They're just gonna face each other again. I don't know. They'll probably go after the tag team titles. They'll probably face like Solo and Jacob or Tama and Tonga.
No, have them face Motor City Machine Guns.
I mean, that's fine.
I would do
Motor
that.
City. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm replying to something important here.
Is it important, Joel?
Actually, it is. So we're going to get there in just a sec.
Okay.
Yeah, so Motor City Machine Guns are allegedly going to be making their debut on Friday Night SmackDown.
Allegedly, I mean, it's pretty.
Hey, until they show up, we can't report on vibes, as our bosses say. But instead,
they literally had a vignette that said MCMG. What else is it standing for? Michael Cole,
Madison.
I don't know.
Who's an MG? Who's is it MGK?
Oh God, that would suck. That'd be terrible.
Oh man, I would do it.
Michael Cole makes gummies.
Michael Cole makes good.
A new cooking segment with Michael Cole. That's what it is.
I'm all about it. It's Giovanni Vinci is what it should be. But instead, it's going to be a lot of fun to see Motor City Machine Guns. As a TNA fan, it's going to be fun to watch them make their WWE debut. I almost said their TNA debut because my brain is going at a 1-0. It's gone. Anyway, it's a good time to bring on our guest instead. Listen, whenever he drops something, I tell him he's here. This is just the way it goes. This time, he's coming to us from Uncrowned. That is the new place where you can get all your MMA, boxing, wrestling, and more coverage through Yahoo Sport. The one and only Cam Hawkins joins us. Hello.
Okay.
Hi, guys. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day to all who celebrate.
It's also Thanksgiving here in Canada, so we got.
About Canada.
But what do y'all like? I feel like Thanksgiving in Canada is fucking horrible, for lack of a better way of saying it.
What are you talking about?
What do y'all eat?
Turkey, ham, if you're not a Jew. That's mashed potatoes, stuffing.
Oh, but like who makes it?
What's that?
But like who makes it?
White people.
In my case,
awful.
yeah, a lot of white people. But my Colombian mother-in-law has that.
Nice. I feel like a white like all other things, white Thanksgiving, like below the Mason-Dixon, is still dope. Like they still know what they're doing, but I couldn't imagine like a Wisconsin Thanksgiving. Sounds terrible.
Oh, let me tell you, I'm in Ohio. Thanksgiving is it's nothing. Like it's fine. Like we get together, the family and stuff. That's what it's really about, right? Living your life a quarter mile at a time and family. That's Fast and Furious and Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But the food is what it is. Like, it's whatever. No sweet tea here in Ohio either. It's god awful.
Listen, I lucked into a family who is part Colombian, part Italian. So I do get people who cook very well. I've gotten that going for me. So we have fun.
Is Ryan Lambert related to Jeremy Lambert?
God, I wish.
I don't think so.
Okay.
We don't have it proven yet, but we can just say it,
Gotcha.
That's fine.
Absolutely, sweet potato pie. It's not even like there's nothing wrong with pumpkin pie unless you have sweet potato pie. To quote a famous man, a Chrysler 300 looks like a Phantom until a Phantom pull up. There's really no comparison. Yeah.
Oh, me Normus mentioned green bean casserole. Here we go.
Okay. Yeah. There's so Thanksgiving this year. My mother's going to she's going to visit our family in Maryland. But it's Texas always plays the Friday of Thanksgiving, and I'm pretty sure I'm hosting a Survivor Series watch party, so I need to be in San Antonio. But Rose's family, fantastic cooks, so it'll be great. But yeah, and then are we doing like something Thanksgiving week, like the Thursday of Thanksgiving?
Football.
Or the Wednesday?
Thursday. I was like Thursday is Thanksgiving.
I don't know, but yeah, sorry.
This is how I find out there are other people in the room with you.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We did because I don't stop. Jeremy knows Joel knows I'm always telling Joel everything that I do. Like 20 minutes ago, just interviewed Daniel Garcia about re-signing, and I'm like, how do I need to arrange the camera so there's not like just a woman casually on her phone in bed? We try to avoid things like that. We're professionals, so yeah, that's why it's a little skewed.
That's why I have this background up, so
who knows what's happening back there, right?
Yeah, exactly. I have no idea what's happening behind this background.
Oh man,
I've got my desk here. There's a bed over there. That's the guest bed. There's a lattice shelf now here. Gets things out of the way. It's fine. Yeah,
we're all adults here. We're all doing multiple things, and having to serve more than one master. So yeah, it's just how it goes.
Let's talk about it. It dropped at midnight, 12:01 this morning. You had a feature on Trick Williams, how a former football standout emerged as wrestling's next big thing. This is for Uncrowned through Yahoo Sports. This is Ariel Helwani's latest venture. You're doing that work as well. Talk to us about this. You're excited to be putting this out there, but let's dig into it. What do we want to talk about first on this whole?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference so far is Ariel's very hands-on with how he wants this thing to go, how he wants it to look, the feel and the overall spirit of it. And, unlike a ringer where it is pop culture and entertainment and also sport, but everything kind of meshes and melds together. Like it's the same site you're going to read about, I don't know, your fantasy draft, as you're going to read about what happened on Penguin the night before, And so it's a bit, I don't even want to say loose, but again, there's a certain spirit to it. With Complex, very little wrestling. And so, it's very, very open to what we do. But, with Uncrowned, this is different. Like these are the veterans of the game, of boxing, of MMA, have been writing about this stuff like really in detail. And so, it was a slightly different approach in writing about Trick, in that we do want to figure in sport. We do want to be very much related to that. It was, and this is not to toot my own horn, the fastest turnaround I've had on anything that I've done in the last couple of years. We interviewed Friday morning, and we were ready to publish Saturday morning. It was a very fast turnaround. It helps. Trick and I do have a relationship, but I think that I'm unabashedly a fan of NXT, and I always have been, like since like Black and Gold. I remember trying to come up with a new Adam Cole is not big but joke and a how high is Matt Riddle joke every week, and having to do that. So I've been such a big fan of what they do, and to watch it become what it has, to watch it become this new proving ground and breeding ground for talent was great. And again, I think Trick Williams, along with like a Braun Breaker, along with a Mello earlier, or Bianca, they're just this real standout Black talents who are undeniable, who belong in main events, who belong in commercials, who belong, fighting for championships. And it's not something we always had. And so I thought it was very important out the gate to kind of state where I'm coming from, the things that are important to me, and what I'm going to be able to highlight. So yeah, man, it was really fun. And I did not feel, I didn't feel rushed. I didn't feel like it wasn't going to come out great, because, Trick is great. He's easy to write about. And I think it was really, really a great way to start this, for sure.
I know you have a relationship with Trick and have known him for a little bit, but as someone who has listened to a lot of Trick Williams interviews, he's very polished in what he gives, and he's also, it seems like he's just very easy to talk to. Like sometimes he won't give you the biggest like quotable in the world. Like if you're looking for like a catchy, like, oh, Trick Williams shoots on whatever type of thing. Like, he's not always going to give you that, but he knows exactly like what to say and give you enough. But the main thing is like the conversation just always feels very easy with him.
Remember when like we were kids and we had no idea how old wrestlers were? Like it wasn't something that came across. Like, you don't think a Trick is being 30 years old, you know? But
I legit didn't know that. I thought he was like 25.
Exactly right. There's absolutely a maturity to him that comes from, you know, one living life, you know, one being of that age, but it's also, you know, I did talk to him about being around young veterans, you know, like Melo was wrestling Darby Allin and Rey Mysterio before he even got signed. You know what I mean? There is him being around, you know, talent who have been doing this for a while. And hearing him talk about, you know, I played ball at Hampton, I ended up walking on at South Carolina, trying out for the Eagles. Like, there are a lot of starts and stops, but you never get the idea that whenever something didn't work out, he was going to stop. You know, he was going to figure out the thing. So I think that, you know, more wrestlers should get credit as being genuinely thoughtful people. And he is one of them, man. He seems to want the spotlight, but know how you're supposed to behave in the spotlight. Like, really, really does. And, you know, the thing that impressed me, you know, in meeting him for the second time, because we met, you know, Wale Mania 2022. The second time we met was at Sirius at DJ Who Kid's show. And, you know, Melo and I had a closer relationship at that point, but Trick's with him. He looks at me, he's like, yo, Wale Mania, Dallas. I was like, yeah, like, it just, you know, unsolicited. And so very cognizant of the world around him. And again, the best part I thought of what we talked about, you know, John Cena. And he was like, Cena, and again, like you said, there's a certain maturity. Nobody's ever told me what he told me about Cena in the way that he said it. You know, he's like, he's aware of everything that's going around him, and he's aware of the sound. And I was like, that's very profound. I'm going to make sure I write that in this. But yeah, I think that that spatial awareness is something that maybe can't be taught. But I think Trick Williams does have that, not just in what's going on in the arena, but the world around him. I think he's very conscious of it and knows how to interact with it, and it's going to carry him. Absolutely.
It's very interesting to hear him talk about, or see you write about how he's very much in his bubble, very contained and very much working hard. But like you said, paying attention. He's still outside of there, and he's getting all of this advice from people who have made it in this business in very different ways. You know, there's Cena, there's Melo. You mentioned, you know, he works with people like Roxanne Perez, who is another young, you know,
young vet
performer who is doing excellent work herself and is tremendously, you know, younger than most talent around her. But Trick is out here. He's paying attention. The age doesn't matter to him. The experience and how one comports themselves seems to be what really drives him to keep moving forward. And I appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. He, again, he's 30, but like a young 30 in the sense of like, you know, I asked him about, you know, those guys and girls are on the sidelines at games and at like school events and stuff. He was like, well, he's like, my coaching staff is still there. And again, things you don't think about. Like, it's not just a PR thing. Like, now WWE has talents who really hang out at the schools because they really went to the schools, and it's not like this super far removed thing. Yeah, they're getting free pub, man, free pub by people who do belong to these programs, can get on TV and be at events. I think about how hard, you know, like a Titus O'Neil worked at it, but he genuinely still has that relationship with Florida. And so, yeah, man, they are like, it's a factory. Like, it really is a factory at this point. The people they're producing, and it just is going to make things easier for them going forward. You know, getting more talent and having more eyes on them for sure.
I don't have too much to add, just because it's Thanksgiving and because it's your everyday. But I know you like to come on here, and I always love to have you come and plug things real quick. But go check it out. It's over on Yahoo Sports through the Young Crown channel, and yeah, it's all about Trick Williams. Cam is here. Cam, plug the rest of your stuff because Jeremy and I are going to go do other stuff.
Absolutely. I got a student in like 1 minute, so it's all good. Yeah, man. Yahoo Uncrowned just launched. Yahoo's new home for MMA, boxing, wrestling. Like I said, just dropped a piece on Trick Williams. Got something cool coming up next week for Halloween Havoc. And then right there in the mix, I'm talking to Daniel Garcia. And so you guys know, yes, I did ask him how he feels about the internet trying to sway him to go to NXT because of specific talents over there. Yeah, had that conversation. Very fun stuff. Yeah. But yeah, just working, man. Most recent feature at Complex, Cody Rhodes, most recent feature for The Ringer, HBK. Who knows what's coming up? Who knows, what's going to be next? But we'll see, man. Thank y'all for always allowing me to come on here, run my mouth a little bit. But I think as time goes on, I'm probably going to do a bit more on camera stuff, I guess, even though I told Joe I don't want to do this so often. Leave me alone. But I do think that that's coming up too. I'm happy to be in the fold, happy to be even considered for the position. And now that we're here, I'm going to do everything that we can. And the very last thing, guys, be nicer to your wrestling media.
Oh.
Sometimes you don't put enough fries in the bag. And it's not an indictment on your entire industry as a food service worker. So be a little bit nicer. People miss Miss Mariah May, who's fantastic and has been fantastic, has every right to feel a way in that environment. Salute to her. You don't. You specifically do not. Guys, thank you as always, and have a great Thanksgiving, I guess.
Who cares about Canada? Who cares about Canada, Cam?
There you go. And Jeremy, you never had your car. Bye, guys.
Oh, good for Cam.
I didn't know if he was going to take like a football shot or a basketball shot there. I didn't know where that was going, but I appreciate the Fast and Furious reference.
He got you right there. Big ups to Cam Hawkins. Again, we celebrate his success and everyone's success who's been on this show before. So when he hits me up and says he got time, we always got time for people who are doing excellent work in this space. Before we get out of here, Jeremy, should we run down Raw real quick and go home?
Sure.
Miz versus R-Truth, Braun Breaker versus Kofi Kingston, Women's Tag Team Championships, Jade and Bianca versus Damage Control, Gunther and Cody go face to face. It's a taped Raw, so if you want the spoilers, they're out there. But otherwise, you can watch it. It's 2 hours. Who knows? I don't know what I'm going to do tonight. Maybe I'll go enjoy the weather for now. Jeremy, anything to plug?
No, it's a 2 hour Raw, so we're not going to get into it because, or not 2 hours. The 2 hours, whatever. It's a taped show, so we're not going to get into it because I've read the spoilers. So just we'll talk about it a little bit on Wednesday. Appreciate Cam coming on. He's always welcome. Always love reading his features. Absolutely fantastic feature on Trick. And yeah, that's it. We'll be back on Wednesday, I guess, for some reason. Wednesday? I actually do want to plug this because it's the one FMC show that I kind of care about. Not to say I don't care about the rest of them, but the rest of them are just lawless shows where we do whatever. Tomorrow, FMC, SP3 and I, it is our basketball season preview. We are very smart when it comes to this. We've predicted the last 3 NBA champions. So if you want to know who's going to win the NBA championship, tune in to FMC tomorrow. That's the only thing I'm really going to plug.
The man's rights. So while you're at it, support the channel, leave a thumbs up, subscribe to us here at Fightful Overbooked. Check out FMC and all the stuff that we drop every single day here. For Jeremy Lambert, I am Actual Pearl, JOELPERL. Ladies, gentlemen, friends beyond the binary, we'll see you Wednesday for this show, 10 a.m. Eastern. Cheers.